I was watching this video of a train going underneath a bridge, and the train had very limited clearance. So it had these double stacked cars, and it looked like maybe there was like 6 inches of clearance. I'm sure there's probably more, but it looked like it was pretty close. Like these railroad cars were barely clearing as the train went underneath, and then people weighed in the comments to talk about this, and a lot of people said that's crazy, that's risky, but somebody else pointed out that metal on metal, it doesn't make a difference between an inch and a mile. If it clears, it clears. If it doesn't clear, that's a problem. But if it does clear, it doesn't really make a difference whether you have 6 inches of clearance or 6 feet of clearance. The train's going to make it through. And I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking about how in life we have this tendency to always want to make things better. If something is big, we want it to be bigger. If we have some kind of success in our lives, we want still to be more successful. It's never enough. And there's this saying, enough is never enough for a man to whom enough is too little. Something to that effect. And it's so true that if you aren't in a place in your life where enough is good enough, then it's never going to be enough. You're always going to be trying to have more clearance above that train. You're always going to be trying to figure out how to make that bridge taller. And the lesson to be learned is that you don't really need to. If it clears, it clears. If what you have gets the job done, well, you don't really need to have something else. It's like my computer keyboard. I have this gaming keyboard. I paid pretty decent money for it quite a while ago. And ever since, I think I tried to clean it or something at one point, and there's just one key, a shift key, that once in a while it kind of sticks a little bit. And then if you tinker with it, it's fine again. And yeah, it's a little bit annoying, but the truth is it usually doesn't act up. The keyboard gets the job done. And, you know, I was looking at these keyboards at the Staples earlier, and I was thinking about how, yeah, I could buy a new keyboard, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because the keyboard I have works just fine. I've got more keyboards that I know what to do with, because every time I've bought a new computer, I've wound up getting another keyboard with it. And the crazy thing is, I've discovered that oftentimes I wind up using cheap wireless keyboards or something like that for gaming, and I don't know the difference. Like, yeah, I could pay $160 for a keyboard, and I'm sure it would be nice. And I'm not saying I won't eventually, but then I wind up going and grabbing that $15, $20 keyboard just because the keys are quiet and it's super easy and it's light and it's convenient. So the point I'm getting at is sometimes it's not about always getting something bigger, something better. It's about asking if what you have is in some way insufficient. And if something isn't working out for you, then by all means, go and upgrade or get something new or get something fixed. But if what is in your life is absolutely functional and it's doing everything you need it to do, you don't need to go find something better, because it's not necessarily going to give you a better experience. I drive a very simple old car, a 2005 Focus, I believe, and I paid $1,000 for this car, and it gets me wherever I need to go if I want to go somewhere. It's not worth very much money, so I just cover it with liability insurance, because if something happened to it and it was completely destroyed, it really wouldn't be any financial impact to me. And I have had nicer vehicles. My last vehicle before that was a 2015 Colorado that I had bought new off the lot, actually. I paid $63,000 for it. And the truth of the matter is, I enjoyed having it, but the load of debt and the worry of if something happens to it and all of that, like, it wasn't really worth it in hindsight. So if I ever need another vehicle, I'll go get one. But I was thinking about this today. The vehicle I have works just fine. I live in a little town and I don't have to drive very much. So it's perfectly functional for right now. If I had something nicer, it wouldn't enable me to do something that I can't already do right now. You know, and I think when you can get to the point where you realize that you have everything you need to enjoy your life completely, then what's the point in trying to get something different? If what you have works well, then don't get anything else until or unless you realize that you need something different to accomplish a goal that you have. And I think that's a really nice way to live, because life starts to be more relaxing, because you have this "if it isn't broke, don't fix it" kind of an attitude. Then you can invest your energy into fixing things that actually need to be fixed, instead of always having this attitude that you need to find a way to upgrade things even if they don't really need to be upgraded. You want to find the next thing to progress to, even if there's nothing wrong with where you currently are. It's just nice to get to a point where you realize that life is good enough, and then you can focus on living and enjoying what you have instead of trying to go get more. If I feel like I have everything I need, then I could spend my day at home, right? And I could be gaming or reading a book or writing or doing some other hobby of mine. If I feel like I don't have what I need, then maybe I'm gonna go to the store and look for it, right? And that's time I can't spend doing what I want, because I have to go out and try to meet a need. And that's fine if I really have that need. But what if I don't really need to do that and I'm just kind of discontent? You know, like I have to use as a good example of this my boss, and he's got this nice property he put a lot of time and effort into having, but he doesn't really get to enjoy it fully because he spends so much time trying to manage it. And when you spend all your time trying to manage your your property, you don't really get a chance to enjoy the property, right? So what's the point in having it if you can't really enjoy it? Whereas maybe I don't really have very much. I don't have the property to manage or to worry about. But I don't have to worry about the maintenance. I can just go out and enjoy the summer evening without any sense of burden of responsibility or chores I have to get done or any of that. I can just enjoy being. And so which of us winds up having a better time? Like me, who's just sitting in the park enjoying the sunset, or maybe somebody who has something that's nicer, admittedly more expensive, but they're always worrying about how are they going to maintain it, how are they going to do what they need to do with it, you know? Sometimes it's just better to have simpler tastes. And I think if you do, then you wind up not really having problems that a lot of other people probably do have. And that doesn't mean that you don't solve problems when you do have them. You know, if you have a problem, you should fix it. Don't put blinders on and say, you know, I'm fine, I don't need to worry about anything when you do have something going on that you need to figure out. But at the same time, I think it's important to learn to be content with what you have. So that's that. Is trying to defeat that boss. Couldn't get it to die. So I guess that guy's gonna be for another day. You know. So I guess I'll close out with a second thought that's been on my mind, and that is this concept of function over form, or form versus function. You know, people will talk about mechanics. They'll talk about what, you know, like maybe what game is best in the gaming space, or what career is best, or something. People look at the technicals, you know, and they say, all right, well, here's the best thing on the market. But if you really study it, you really think about it, then maybe you realize that, yes, technically it's better, but spiritually it's kind of not. You know, I've talked about, maybe New World is a good example. In the MMO space, New World is a game that technically in many ways is better than other games. Maybe Elder Scrolls Online isn't as good of a game in some ways, but when you factor in all of the lore of the world and you know, the world building and the storytelling and all of the different things that the Elder Scrolls universe brings to the table from a creative perspective, New World really felt like kind of a lacking game. And so that's a good example of where maybe functionally New World was a better game because of something like maybe a combat mechanic or newer graphics engine or something like that. But functionally, though it was better, in terms of form, it wasn't as meaningful. And so people kind of played it, and then a lot of them just moved on. Whereas Elder Scrolls is a good example of a game that's kind of gone on for a very long time, and probably will go on for a very long time in the future as well, because people like what the Elder Scrolls stands for. It means something that's inspirational or interesting in a way that a new entry to the genre can't really compete with. So I think it's important also to ask yourself, what is the fruit something bears in your life? Like, is it something that really inspires you or encourages you, or something you truly enjoy? And if it is, then you should probably put more effort into it. But if it's something where it just seems like it's technically better, but it doesn't really scratch that itch, then maybe not. And again, it goes back to, kind of that earlier point I was talking about, where we're always looking for the best thing. How do we find something that's going to be a step above the last thing that we were doing? And we go through life with this sort of upgrade mentality. It's always, I'm going to keep on looking around to see if there's something new that's coming on the market that I can sign up for. Because what I have might be the best today, but it might not be the best tomorrow. And if there's something new that comes out, then I want to make sure that I'm getting on that bandwagon so I can have the best possible experience. But if you're always jumping from one thing to the next, and you're always looking for something better, then maybe you miss out on the opportunity to be present with what you have, to really just ask the question, is what I have not good enough? Or do I need something different or new? Because we can get a little bit kind of lost on the way, I think, when we're always looking for something new. It's like in gaming, I realize there's always some new game coming out. And the crazy thing about it is they're not really that different from games that already have been out. I like to play city building games, and the truth is there's a few really good titles that dominate the market, and then there's always some new title that comes along, and then you think, oh, that's cool, I'm going to play it. But you sit down, you play it, and you start thinking, well, you know what? This kind of just feels like a reskinned version of a mechanic that I've already seen. So if this game is going to be basically kind of like it was a knockoff of something I've already done, then why not just stick with that original title that I already know and enjoy? If I've spent a bunch of time playing one MMO, do I really want to stop playing it and start all over in a completely new experience? Or would I rather just accept the fact that I enjoy the game I'm currently playing, even if it's not perfect, and I'm not going to just go switch because there's a new thing on the market? The fact that you can upgrade doesn't necessarily mean you need to. If you don't have a reason to really want a different experience because you're enjoying the one you already have, then just stay where you're at. The truth is, I find the things I enjoy are simple, and the things I enjoy I probably already have. And the things I really want that I don't have are usually things that money can't buy. Like, you can't go buy a relationship. You can't buy something of a more of a spiritual nature, or something involving human connections. But in terms of just things that you want to do, well, you can pretty easily meet all your basic needs. Life doesn't have all that much complexity when it comes to meeting your basic needs. You figure out what it is that you enjoy, what it is that you want to do, and then you get the tools you need to accomplish that. It's just that simple. Then once you're there, you're there. It's not like you really need something more or something better, unless you believe that. And if you believe that, then you're always going to be chasing something more and something better. And you're going to be so busy chasing those things, you're never going to actually enjoy the things you already have. I think I probably have a better experience when I stop thinking about trying to dabble in 100 different games, and I just play maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 that are my top favorites. And Does that mean I'm maybe missing out on something? Sure, maybe. But I'm not missing out on a good experience. And that's the important thing to remember. You might miss out on a lot of different things by not being part of a lot of different things. But that does not automatically mean that you are going to have a less rich experience in life. To the contrary, if you stop looking for something new around every corner and instead you just enjoy the experiences that you've already proven, then you will wind up having a lot more stability and peace in your life. And having peace is better than having a house filled with stuff or a life filled with activities or a Steam library filled with games or anything else of that nature. You could be a person who's always getting the newest model car every year, or always finding a new reason to, expand their house or buy a new property or try to level up more in their career or whatever it might be. But if you're always trying to level up, then you won't enjoy the level you're currently on. And you run the risk that you get all the way through your life and you realize you never actually enjoyed your life at all, because you were always just trying to chase the next progression to get there. And you never really accepted the fact that you don't need more than what is currently necessary to meet your goals, your objectives, and sustain you. It's been said that it doesn't matter whether you're a little smarter than somebody or if you're a lot smarter from the perspective of somebody else. They can't tell the difference. You're just ahead of them. Or it doesn't matter whether you win a race by an inch or a mile, because at the end of the race, there's the person who won and there's the people who didn't. And it doesn't really make a difference by what margin you won. So always try to do things that will put you on track to have peace in your life, to be successful at what you're trying to do. But don't worry so much about whether you're coming in to score a victory by a large margin. It's okay to be just a little bit ahead. If you're in a race, my understanding is the way you want to do it is you come out of the gate and you kind of don't worry about being all the way up in the front. And then you let other people be competitive, and maybe they'll battle it out for first place. And a lot of them will fall out of the race because they'll crash or they'll hit each other or something. And then you just bide your time. You be consistent. And it's that last lap when you actually give it everything you've got and you push into the leading position. After the competition has already taken each other out, you've preserved your strength, then you pull ahead and maybe you wind up in first place at the end. But it's not about trying to be in first place all the time, because sometimes that puts you on track to try to do something early in the game that you can't sustain all the way through. It's better to just take things in stride, be consistent, and do things that are conducive to your long-term success. But don't see everything through the lens of competition. Don't see everything through the lens of being number one at everything. Always make an effort to be equipped with everything that you need, but don't try to be over prepared. for things that don't concern you. And I think definitely if you focus on meeting your needs but not exceeding them, if you always take what you need but you never desire more than that, you'll probably find you always have enough abundance to ensure that you never are lacking for the resources you need to acquire the things that you truly want and need. It's when we try to compare ourselves to others, it's when we try to win by a margin that's far greater than what we need to win by. That's when we wind up getting in over our heads. We're over leveraged. We lose our time. We lose our financial freedom. We lose so many other things as we chase that pot of gold at the end of the fictional rainbow. Remember that every day you are enough, and the things that you have in your life are enough. And stop always chasing to see if you can find something better or find something more. Because sometimes it's best just to enjoy the life that you have. Till next time, as always, good luck on your adventure, and thank you for watching.